So Floyd Shivamba recently had a press conference in Midrand and he finally addressed why he was removed from his position as Secretary General. He said that the main reason the national officials gave for removing him was because they believed he was planning to remove President Zuma from his role as the head of Mkhonto we Sizwe. So according to them all, the work he was doing, like building structures and choosing leaders, was actually a secret plan to push Zuma out of power. And that's the story they ran with. Floyd went on to say that their reasoning was supported by a very strange and fake intelligence report. This report apparently claimed that he had been talking to people from other African countries about raising money to remove President Zuma, but it didn't stop there. The report also allegedly said that he was supposedly trying to gain supernatural powers to make people disappear. He said this story was just outrageous and full of lies, and he called it nonsense and said it was a desperate and bizarre attempt to destroy his character and push him out of his position with no real proof. Floyd made it clear that he completely rejected those claims. He told the officials that if they really believed he had been sending suspicious messages on WhatsApp, they could take his phone and go through all of it. He even offered right there in the meeting to hand over his device. He also said they were trying to use fear and superstition to paint him as someone dangerous and mysterious, all to make people believe he was involved in some kind of dark plot to take over power. But Floyd stood firm and said all of it was lies and part of a made-up story to remove him from his leadership role unfairly. He believes it was all politically motivated because some people didn't want him to rise any higher. Floyd made it clear that he still stands by the truth and has nothing to be ashamed of. He called the intelligence report absolute rubbish and said he was shocked by how far people would go just to hold on to power. Even though he was removed from his position, he wants people to know that he won't be silenced and that the truth will eventually come out. He also encouraged others not to believe everything they hear, especially when it sounds so wild and unbelievable.
The reason given in the national officials for my deployment or removal as Secretary General was that I want to overthrow President Zuma as the president of Mkhonto we Sizwe. That is what was said. That all the work that we were doing as Secretary General of establishing structures and identifying leaders was meant ultimately at the removal of President Zuma as president of Mkhonto we Sizwe. And as part of that reasoning, an extremely bizarre and fake intelligence report was produced, which was claimed to be a conversation between me and some people in the African continent, where it is alleged that despite raising money to remove President Zuma, I'm also accumulating supernatural powers to make people disappear. That is the reason why we had to deal with superstitious issues as the basis of what happens, that there's apparently a head which I was going to be given to give to someone, and some people were going to die so that I can become president of Mkhonto we Sizwe. That was the intelligence report, which were rejected with contempt and said that that is absolute rubbish, and said that if anyone claims to have my WhatsApp conversations, I can hand over my phone. I even offered in the meeting that take my phone and check not only the messages that you claim were about the removal of President Zuma, also check any other message about anything that I communicate as a leader of Mkhonto.